Hi, I'm Pastor Kevin McClain from Trinity Lutheran Church. Thank you for joining with me as we begin our fifth week together going through the book of Acts. This week, we're looking at chapters 20 through 25. And these are a strange section of readings because they tell us something that we don't often hear in our daily lives. They tell us truth. You see, the early parts of the book of Acts talk primarily about a bit of persecution, but a great deal of success. You see, the Apostle Peter, of course, and following that, the Apostle Paul, go about their ministry, always in fear of some type of persecution, but having incredible success. They are sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ, and people are coming to faith, sometimes in droves, just incredible numbers. It certainly is apparent that the Holy Spirit is moving in ways that are miraculous. What we're about to see is the Apostle Paul beginning to suffer much longer, much harder, much more than we typically imagine God's people should have to suffer. You see, there is no work, not in the kingdom of heaven and not here on earth below, that doesn't require from us a cost. We have to invest ourselves in the things that matter to us. We invest, of course, in our future by setting aside money to retire and so forth. We sometimes prepare for our future by learning a trade or by going to college and earning a degree that we know that the sacrifices that we make today will be worth it in the long run if we are only wise enough to make the right sacrifice and long-suffering enough to see them through, to get to the place where we'll get some return on that investment. But for the apostles, they began harvesting and reaping a return right away. And the intensity of persecution only continued to pick up to greater and greater levels. And we see this, of course, in the ministry of the Apostle Paul as he prepares to go back to Jerusalem to be captured by the Jewish leaders there, to be threatened continually from this point on with kidnapping and with his own murder. He eventually is put into the hands of the Roman authorities, and by the end of this book will appeal and be sent to the Caesar, the emperor. The Apostle Paul is going to go into prison for years at a time. He's going to suffer incredible things, all for the sake of the gospel, all for the sake of that same thing that he himself went out seeking to persecute others for. You see, the truth is that insofar as we're willing to do the work and the will of God, we will suffer. We know this, that there is nothing that can happen in our past that God won't wash away. But we know that others will use it against us. We know that there is nothing in life that the gospel doesn't change. And yet, people are the same people, whether that is 2,000 years ago or today. And so as we go through these readings, and as we see the depths of suffering that God is willing to take an incredible servant in the Apostle Paul through, I'd like for you to think about your own life. What things have you suffered? How have they changed you? Where has God taken you through? And what do you think He's using that for? You see, our sin is most certainly our shame. But when it's given over to Jesus Christ, He not only forgives it, but He redeems us. He changes us through those things that we've done in some cases or endured in other cases to make us into who we are. And so who you are and everything you've been through, the things that you're proud of and the things that you are ashamed of, the things that you can't wait to forget and the things that you hope you never will, all of those things are working together to make you who you are. And they conspire even today to make you who you will become. And God, through His Spirit, works through all of this, redeeming and changing. So what has it all been for? We're going to see in the life of Paul just where this will lead him, and it'll lead him to an incredible place. Where has it led you, and where is it leading you even now? As you go this week, I'd love for you to consider this idea. How is it that the highs and lows that you've been through, the things that have changed you, sometimes for better, and sometimes we wonder if they haven't been for worse, how have they made you ready to do God's will? As you go this week, and as I go, I know that is what will be on my mind. How is it that God is desiring to use you? How is it that God is desiring to use me, or Trinity Lutheran Church? How in this world and in our community might the Spirit of God be moving us to be more His people day after day, so that at the end of all of this, at the end of our lives, just as at the end of the book of Acts, we'll see that the hand of God was all over everything, from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows, and everywhere in between, led, formed, shaped, guided, discipled, and called by Jesus Christ. God bless you as you go, and we'll see you again next week.